Could the 2024 U.S. presidential election be a choice between the devil and the deep blue sea? That's the provocative question we're exploring today. We're not here to endorse or vilify any candidate, but to delve into the potential repercussions of the re-election of two polarizing figures, Joe Biden and Donald Trump. Remember, we're talking about the highest office in the land, the most powerful position in the world. The decision made by millions of Americans will reverberate across the globe, affecting international relations, diplomacy, and the global balance of power. Both Biden and Trump have their loyal supporters and their staunch detractors. Both have made their mark on the nation and the world. But what would another 4 years under either administration mean for America and the world? Brace yourselves as we delve into the potential dangers of re-electing either Biden or Trump. Imagine a second term with President Joe Biden. We find ourselves contemplating a future where President Biden finds himself once again in the Oval Office. While some may find this a comforting thought, others may see it as a harbinger of potential troubles. After all, a second term with President Biden isn't without its perils. Let's take a step back and look at some of the challenges that have marked Biden's first term. The ongoing pandemic, economic turmoil, social unrest, and a deeply divided nation have all left their marks on his presidency. His response to these issues, while admirable in some aspects, has also raised serious concerns. One of the main criticisms has been his handling of the economy. Despite promising to build back better, the reality for many Americans has been quite different. A surge in inflation, a struggling job market, and the increasing burden of national debt have all cast a shadow over his economic policies. If these trends continue, a second term with Biden could see these issues worsen, further eroding the financial stability of the average American. Then there's the question of Biden's age and health. At 76, he's the oldest person to ever serve as president. While age in itself is not a disqualifying factor, it does raise concerns about his ability to handle the rigors of the presidency, especially in a time of crisis. His occasional gaffes and stumbles, both literal and figurative, have only added to these concerns. A second term would see him pushing into his 80s, a thought that leaves many worried about the potential implications for the country's leadership. Beyond domestic issues, the implications of a Biden re-election on international affairs are also a cause for concern. His first term saw a shift in America's approach to foreign policy, with a return to multilateralism and a focus on rebuilding alliances. However, this approach has had mixed results. Allies have expressed worry over America's reliability, especially in light of the abrupt Afghan withdrawal. Adversaries, on the other hand, have taken advantage of perceived weaknesses, as seen in the increased aggression from Russia and China. Biden's approach to China in particular has drawn criticism. Despite labeling China as America's biggest competitor, his policies have done little to curb its growing influence. A second term could see China further solidifying its position on the world stage, potentially at the expense of American interests. Similarly, his handling of the Iranian nuclear deal and the North Korean missile crisis has left many questioning his ability to effectively deal with rogue states. A second term could see these issues escalate, potentially destabilizing already volatile regions. On the climate front, while Biden's commitment to tackling climate change is commendable, his approach has been criticized as being too idealistic and lacking in practicality. The push for a green economy, while necessary, has also faced backlash due to the potential impact on jobs and the economy. A second term could see these policies pushed even further, potentially leading to more economic upheaval. Lastly, there's the issue of unity. Biden promised to be a president for all Americans, yet the nation remains deeply divided. His policies have often seemed to favor one side of the political spectrum, further exacerbating these divisions. A second term could see these divisions deepen, potentially leading to more social unrest and political instability. All these factors paint a picture of a second term fraught with challenges. While it's impossible to predict the future with certainty, the past can often provide valuable insights. And if Biden's first term is anything to go by, a second term could see these issues not just persist, but potentially worsen. That's not to say that Biden's presidency has been all bad. There have been moments of progress and positive change. However, the concerns are real and they are pressing. And as we contemplate the possibility of a second term with President Biden, it's essential to consider these perils and their potential impact on the future of America and the world. The thought of Biden's re-election raises a series of red flags. As we move forward, it's crucial to keep these potential pitfalls in mind. After all, the future of America, and indeed the world, may hinge on the decisions made in the coming months. Now, let's shift our focus to the potential return of Donald Trump. As we delve into the labyrinth of Trump's potential re-election, it's vital to revisit the past to understand the future. Trump's presidency from 2017 to 2021 was nothing short of controversial. His policies, statements, and actions sent shockwaves across the United States and the world. Firstly, let's look at Trump's policies. The Trump administration pushed for a staunchly conservative agenda with a particular focus on immigration and economic protectionism. His signature policy, the border wall with Mexico, was a contentious issue that divided the nation. Trump's America First approach also led to the withdrawal from international agreements, including the Paris Climate Accord and the Iran nuclear deal. These policies, while appealing to a segment of the American populace, also raised concerns. Critics argue that his immigration policies were inhumane and discriminatory. His economic policies, while boosting American industries, were seen as isolationist and harmful to global trade. The withdrawal from international agreements, critics say, diminished America's global leadership and credibility. Trump's presidency was also marked by controversial statements that garnered international attention. His comments on race, religion, and gender often sparked outrage and division. These remarks, critics say, undermined social cohesion and fueled societal tensions. One cannot discuss Trump's presidency without mentioning his impeachment. Trump was impeached twice by the House of Representatives, first on charges of abuse of power and obstruction of Congress in 2019, and second on charges of incitement of insurrection in 2021. Though acquitted both times by the Senate, these impeachments raise serious questions about his conduct and integrity. Now let's consider the potential impacts of Trump's re-election on domestic and international affairs. Domestically, a Trump victory could signal a return to conservative policies and potentially heighten societal divisions. His America First approach could further strain relations with allies and partners, while his perceived affinity for authoritarian leaders could alter America's global standing. Internationally, a Trump victory could have far-reaching implications. Trump's disdain for multilateralism could exacerbate global conflicts and challenges. His skepticism of climate change could hinder global efforts to combat this existential threat. His transactional approach to diplomacy could undermine international norms and institutions. But it's not all doom and gloom. Supporters argue that Trump's unorthodox approach challenges the status quo and shakes up the political establishment. They contend that his focus on American interests ensures the country's prosperity and security. They also argue that his tough stance on China and other adversaries strengthens America's position in the world. Yet the question remains, does Trump's potential return signal a step forward or a step back for America? This question, like many in politics, is subjective and depends on one's perspective. However, one thing is clear: Trump's potential return would undoubtedly usher in an era of uncertainty and unpredictability. In conclusion, the potential return of Donald Trump is a complex and contentious issue. His past policies, controversial statements, and impeachment cast a long shadow over his potential re-election. The potential impacts on domestic and international affairs are far-reaching and uncertain. The prospect of Trump's return is a double-edged sword. On one hand, it could bring about desired change for those disillusioned with the political establishment. On the other hand, it could exacerbate societal divisions and strain international relations. Does the prospect of Trump's return instill fear or hope? This question is not for us to answer, but for the American people to decide in the upcoming election. Regardless of the outcome, one thing is certain: the world will be watching. Why aren't the Democrats stepping in to prevent Biden's re-election? A question that has been echoing around the political corridors. causing many raised eyebrows and countless debates. Let's dive into this democratic dilemma and attempt to unravel the intricacies of this complex situation. At first glance, it might seem like the Democratic Party is standing by passively, allowing Biden's re-election bid to continue unchallenged. But if we look closer, we'll find that the situation is far more nuanced. The Democratic Party is indeed in a unique position, caught between the proverbial rock and a hard place. On one hand, the party has to consider the political ramifications of intervening. The Democratic Party, like any political party, operates on a principle of unity, and intervening in Biden's re-election bid could be seen as a breach of this unity. The fear of causing a rift within the party, of alienating certain sections of their voter base, is a strong deterrent against intervention. In addition, Biden, despite his perceived perils, still commands a significant following within the party and the country at large. On the other hand, the party is also acutely aware of the potential consequences of allowing Biden's re-election bid to proceed unchecked. The stakes are high, and the party must weigh the political risks against the potential rewards. If Biden's re-election bid is successful, the party could face a backlash from voters who feel that their concerns were not adequately addressed. Conversely, if Biden's re-election bid fails, the party could be accused of not doing enough to support their candidate. So, what does this mean for the Democratic Party? It's a delicate balancing act. The party must navigate this tightrope, trying to maintain party unity while also addressing the concerns of its diverse voter base. The Democratic Party finds itself in a precarious position, needing to make tough decisions while also keeping an eye on the bigger picture. And what might be the potential consequences of this decision? Well, the party's handling of Biden's re-election bid could have far-reaching implications, both domestically and internationally. Domestically, the party risks alienating certain sections of its voter base, potentially leading to a loss of support in future elections. Internationally, the party's decision could have implications for the United States' relationships with other countries, impacting diplomatic ties and international cooperation. In conclusion, the Democratic Party is caught in a delicate predicament. It must navigate this challenging situation with care, balancing the needs of its diverse voter base with the potential political ramifications of its decisions. It's a high-stakes political game, and the party's decisions in the coming months could shape the future of American politics for years to come. The Democratic Party seems to be in a delicate predicament. This statement, while succinct, encapsulates the complex situation the party finds itself in. The decisions it makes now will not only impact the upcoming election, but could also set the tone for American politics in the foreseeable future. The Democratic Party's dilemma is indeed a fascinating topic, one that deserves our close attention and thoughtful consideration. The Republican Party appears to be in a state of discord over Trump. It's a scene that seems to be playing out in slow motion, a schism forming within the grand old party. The tectonic plates of political ideology are shifting, and the resulting tremors are causing quite a stir. Trump, a figure who needs no introduction, has been a catalyst for change within the Republican Party. His unorthodox approach, populist rhetoric, and larger-than-life persona have seen the party morph into something quite different from what it once was. But not everyone within the party is on board with this transformation. On one hand, there are those who have embraced Trump's brand of politics, seeing in him a leader who is unafraid to buck the trend, to challenge the status quo, and to give voice to the forgotten men and women of America. They see in Trump a straight talker, someone who doesn't mince words, who tells it like it is, and who isn't afraid to ruffle a few feathers in the process. But on the other hand, there are those who are deeply uncomfortable with this direction. They yearn for a return to the party's roots of fiscal conservatism, small government, and free markets. They worry that Trump's populist approach is diluting the party's core principles, that it is leading the party down a path that veers too far from its traditional values. This internal struggle within the Republican Party isn't just about Trump, it's about the very identity of the party. It's about deciding what the party stands for, what it wants to achieve, and who it represents. It's about determining the direction the party will take not just for the upcoming election, but for years to come. The division within the party is also causing a lot of uncertainty. Some are worried that a divided party will be a weaker party, that it will struggle to present a united front against the Democrats. Others fear that the division could lead to a split in the party, with some Republicans deciding to break away and form their own party. But even amidst all this uncertainty, there's also an opportunity for the party to redefine itself, to find common ground, and to come together stronger. The upcoming election could serve as a litmus test for the party, a chance to see which direction resonates more with the American people. The stakes are high. The decisions made now could shape the party's future for years to come. If the party decides to continue down the path charted by Trump, it could potentially alienate some of its traditional voter base. But if it chooses to revert back to its traditional values, it could risk losing the support of the new voter base that Trump has brought in. The Republican Party is facing a difficult decision. It's a decision that goes beyond just one man. It's a decision about the party's very identity. It's a decision that could alter the course of American politics. The Republican Party is at a crossroads, one that could determine its future. Whatever the party decides, one thing is clear. The decision won't be easy, and the consequences will be far-reaching. But one thing is for certain, the world will be watching as the grand old party navigates its way through this period of change and uncertainty. Let's contemplate the possible consequences of Biden's re-election. Should Biden secure a second term, it's likely we'll see a continued focus on his established priorities, including economic recovery, climate change, and international diplomacy. But what does this mean in tangible terms? On the domestic front, Biden's re-election would likely mean an extension of his economic policies. His administration has placed a strong emphasis on supporting middle and lower-income families, pushing for minimum wage increases, and expanding access to affordable health care. This focus could mean a more equitable economy, but critics argue it may also lead to increased taxation and potential stifling of business growth. The Biden administration has also been defined by its commitment to tackling climate change. A second term would likely see a continuation of policies aimed at reducing carbon emissions and promoting renewable energy. This could mean significant changes for industries like oil and gas, and potentially a shift toward a greener economy. But it's a delicate balancing act, as such changes need to be managed without causing undue harm to existing industries and jobs. On the international stage, Biden's re-election might signal a strengthening of alliances and a return to multilateral diplomacy. Biden has shown a commitment to rebuilding relationships strained under previous administrations, and a second term could solidify the United States' position within international frameworks like the Paris Agreement and the World Health Organization. However, it's important to note that a Biden re-election may also bring challenges. While his approach to international diplomacy has been praised for its focus on cooperation and unity, critics argue it lacks the assertiveness needed in dealing with aggressive global actors. Could a second term see a shift in this approach, or will it be more of the same? And then there's the question of unity at home. With the country still deeply divided along political lines, a Biden re-election could either further entrench these divisions or, optimistically, provide an opportunity for healing and unity. Much would depend on how Biden and his administration navigate the political landscape and whether they can find common ground with their opponents. In conclusion, a Biden re-election could bring about a continuation of his administration's policies, with a focus on economic recovery, climate change, and international diplomacy. This could mean significant changes both domestically and internationally, with potential impacts on the economy, the environment, and the United States' position in the world. But it would also bring challenges, including the need for strong leadership in the face of global threats and the task of healing a divided nation. A Biden re-election could have far-reaching implications. What could be the aftermath of a Trump victory? This question hangs in the air, a specter of possibilities. Let's delve into this, focusing on three pivotal areas: immigration, the economy, and international relations. Starting with immigration, Trump's previous tenure saw a significant tightening of immigration policies. A second term could mean a continuation of these policies, perhaps even an intensification. We could see the continuation of the Remain in Mexico policy, further restrictions on legal immigration, and an unyielding stance towards undocumented immigrants. This could lead to a further divide in the American society and a potential surge in human rights concerns. Next, let's talk economy. Trump's first term was marked by significant tax cuts, particularly for corporations and the wealthy, and an aggressive stance against international trade partners. If history serves as a guide, we can expect a similar approach in a second term. This could potentially fuel economic growth, but it may also exacerbate income inequality and possibly lead to trade wars affecting not just the U.S., but the global economy. Now, on to international relations. Trump's America First policy has been a departure from the traditional role the U.S. has played on the global stage. A second term could mean further distancing from multinational alliances and treaties. We may see a continuation of the U.S.'s withdrawal from global commitments, a further strain on relations with traditional allies, and a potential escalation in tensions with adversaries. This shift could have profound implications, not just for the U.S., but for the global order. However, it's crucial to remember that these are just potential outcomes. Politics, like life, is full of surprises, and the actual consequences of a Trump victory could veer off in unexpected directions. One thing is for certain, though, a Trump victory would be a clear mandate from the American people, a reaffirmation of their choice in 2016. It would signal a continued desire for an unorthodox leader, one who promises to disrupt the status quo, for better or for worse. But beyond the borders of the United States, a Trump victory would send a powerful message to the world. It would serve as an endorsement of his brand of politics, one that is marked by populism, nationalism, and a rejection of multilateralism. This could embolden similar movements globally, influencing elections and policies in countries far removed from the U.S. In essence, a Trump victory would not just shape the next 4 years of American politics. It could potentially reshape global politics and the world order as we know it. A Trump victory could shake the global stage. As we come to the end of our discussion, let's take a moment to revisit the key points we've explored. We've delved into the potential risks and repercussions of the Biden and Trump presidencies. We've highlighted the challenges within the Democratic Party concerning Biden's re-election and the Republican Party's division over Trump's candidacy. We've examined the potential aftermath of Biden's re-election, the domestic implications, as well as the impact on international diplomacy. Similarly, we've dissected the possible effects of Trump's election victory, both nationally and globally. The stakes are high and the outcome is uncertain. But one thing is clear: the consequences will reach far beyond the borders of the United States. As the world watches, we are reminded of the power of the ballot and the influence of the American presidency. It's more than an election, it's a global event with international reverberations. The 2024 U.S. presidential election could be a defining moment in global history.